No one at the construction site expected anything unusual that morning. Trucks rumbled, steel clanged, and workers moved with the rhythm of another long day. But in just a few minutes, something would happen that would leave a powerful CEO completely speechless and change one man's life forever. The man everyone barely noticed was named Marcus. He wore a worn-out hard hat and gloves that had seen better days. Quiet, focused, and respectful, he kept to himself while doing his work carefully and efficiently. Most of the other workers knew him only as the guy who arrived early and left late. Few had ever had a real conversation with him. That morning, a group of international investors arrived at the site with the company's CEO, Daniel Hartley. The project was massive, and the investors were speaking among themselves in different languages as they walked. Some spoke French, others Spanish, and one older investor spoke rapidly in Japanese while pointing at structural plans. The site manager struggled to follow what they were saying. Misunderstandings began to slow the meeting, and frustration started to show on the visitors' faces. That was when Marcus, who had been nearby organizing materials, quietly stepped forward. In calm, respectful tones, he translated the Japanese investors' concerns into English. The group fell silent. Then Marcus turned and explained the engineer's reply back in Japanese with natural fluency. The investor's expression changed instantly, from irritation to surprise. Before anyone could react, another investor spoke in French, asking a technical question. Marcus answered smoothly, translating both ways without hesitation. Then a Spanish-speaking guest joined in, and again Marcus responded with ease. The entire group stood frozen. Even the noise of the construction site seemed to fade as everyone watched the quiet worker who, moments earlier, had been almost invisible. Daniel Hartley studied Marcus carefully, curiosity growing stronger with every word. It wasn't just the languages, it was the confidence, the clarity, and the calm intelligence behind the way Marcus spoke. When the conversation finally ended, Daniel stepped closer and asked softly, "How many languages do you actually speak?" Marcus hesitated, clearly uncomfortable with the attention. Then he replied, almost shyly, 9, sir." For a moment, no one said anything. The CEO looked around at the stunned investors, then back at Marcus, realizing he was looking at someone extraordinary hidden in plain sight. And in that moment, Daniel made a decision that would soon surprise everyone at that construction site. Daniel couldn't stop thinking about Marcus. While the investors continued touring the site, the CEO found himself watching the quiet worker from a distance. Marcus had already gone back to carrying materials as if nothing unusual had happened, as if speaking 9 languages was completely ordinary. Later that afternoon, Daniel asked the site manager to bring Marcus to the temporary office. Marcus walked in slowly, still wearing his work gloves, unsure why the CEO wanted to see him. Daniel invited him to sit down, but Marcus remained standing, respectful and slightly nervous. The CEO began asking questions, not about construction, but about Marcus's life. Marcus explained that he had loved languages since childhood. He had studied from old books borrowed from libraries, listened to radio broadcasts from different countries, and practiced by speaking to travelers whenever he had the chance. But life had not been easy. After losing his father at a young age, Marcus had taken whatever work he could find to support his family. Construction paid the bills, so he stayed. Daniel listened quietly, impressed not only by Marcus's intelligence but by his determination. Learning even one language takes dedication. Learning 9 on his own showed an extraordinary level of discipline and passion. Then Daniel asked Marcus to demonstrate again. He opened a laptop and connected to a video call with colleagues from different international offices. One by one, they spoke in their native languages. And one by one, Marcus responded effortlessly, switching between languages as naturally as breathing. The people on the call were amazed. Some laughed in disbelief. Others leaned closer to their screens, asking Marcus questions just to hear him answer. When the call ended, Daniel leaned back in his chair, still processing what he had just witnessed. He realized this man was not just talented, he was rare. But what surprised Daniel even more was Marcus's humility. When the CEO praised him, Marcus simply nodded and said, "I just like learning. It helps me understand people." Those words stayed with Daniel. Understanding people was something many executives struggled with, yet here was a construction worker who had mastered it through curiosity and patience. That evening, as the sun set behind the unfinished building, Daniel made another decision. And this one would not only change Marcus's life, but also send a powerful message to everyone who had ever been overlooked or underestimated. The next morning, all the workers were called together before the start of the shift. It was unusual, and whispers spread quickly across the site. Some thought there was a problem with the project. Others wondered if layoffs were coming. Daniel stood in front of the group, calm but serious. Marcus stood near the back, unaware of what was about to happen. The CEO began by speaking about talent. He said that sometimes the world overlooks people, not because they lack ability, but because no one takes the time to see who they truly are. The workers listened quietly, unsure where the speech was going. Daniel called Marcus forward. Marcus looked surprised, even hesitant, as he stepped to the front. Daniel placed a hand on his shoulder and spoke so everyone could hear. He explained what Marcus had done the day before, how he had helped the investors, and how his knowledge and dedication had impressed everyone. The workers exchanged amazed looks. Many had worked beside Marcus for months without ever knowing. Then Daniel announced something no one expected. Marcus was being offered a position in the company's international communications department, with training, education support, and a salary that would completely change his future. For a moment, Marcus simply stood there, speechless. His eyes filled with emotion as he realized what this opportunity meant, not just for him, but for his family. The workers began to applaud. At first it was a few people, then more, until the entire site was clapping. Some of the same men who had barely noticed Marcus before were now cheering for him with genuine respect. Daniel ended with words that many would remember long after that day. He said that talent can be found anywhere, and that every person deserves to be seen for who they truly are. As Marcus looked out at the crowd, he understood something powerful. All the late night studying, all the effort, all the years of quiet perseverance had not been wasted. Someone had finally noticed, and in that moment, the construction site was no longer just a place of noise and steel. It had become the place where one man's hidden gift was discovered, and where a simple act of recognition changed a life forever.